I had just come home from summer camp. It was a horseback riding camp, and I was still jazzed from the week that I had had. And I sat down with my parents at the kitchen table, and they kind of told me in a off way that there's something wrong with Daddy, but that he would be okay and everything was going to work out, but that something was wrong, and I didn't really understand. I think they used the word cancer. I can't really remember. I think I was 10 at the time, so I was still pretty young. Didn't really understand what was going on, but they reassured me that everything would be okay. But I think I remember going up to my bathroom and crying, and I'm pretty sure I locked myself in there at some point. Didn't really understand how to handle the situation, but I think I knew in my head that everything wouldn't be okay, that there was still a chance that he wouldn't live, that he wouldn't survive, that cancer could be a bad thing, even though I didn't really know what it was. Well, I remember his progression, his just progressive decaying. I mean, coming home, and he'd be fine in the beginning, and then he would start going to doctor's appointments, and I'd come home, and him and my mom wouldn't be home. They'd be away at doctor's appointments, and then it became physically apparent that he wasn't well, and he had to get oxygen, and he was tethered to the oxygen upstairs in his room, and I'd have to run upstairs. It was kind of like a game to see how fast I could run upstairs to grab his oxygen for him, bring it down so he could walk upstairs, and then we had to escort him up the stairs because he was so weak. And he was just pretty much chained to his bed. He really couldn't get out of bed at the end. I think we tried to put on a front and try and make it seem that everything was okay, that everything would end up fine, but I mean, obviously it didn't end up the way that we hoped that it should have, and the way that I'm sure that my father would have liked it to end up. But I think for most kids who have a close relationship with their father, even if they don't have a close relationship, just to value every single second with them, value their family relationships, just kind of get through it a day at a time and just see where it takes them, and just not really get stuck up in the whole medical process, still try and be a kid, because I know I lost a lot of my innocence through the illness. I mean, it didn't just affect my dad, it affected my mom, it affected myself. So I think just try and stay a child, but stay strong for both parents and the rest of the people in the family as well. Well, I just turned 18 a couple weeks ago, so that was a very hard benchmark for me. Really missed my dad. Didn't want to cry in this, but it was a really hard benchmark, and I know my mom and I both struggled a lot with it. It's just hard not having him there and not having him at such important marks in my life, and my graduation's coming up in a couple months, and I know he won't be there for that, and even my college graduation in 4 years, and marriage after that, and grandkids and kids and everything, so it's definitely a hard thing not having a father there, but I'm lucky to have a loving mother. Well, I'm so glad that we can offer kind of a ray of hope for other families that are going through similar situations, because I know it can be hard not knowing that there are other people out there in similar situations as yourself and other people. And I know for my family and I, we didn't even know how to pronounce mesothelioma, so just having a support group, having friends, people going through the same thing who understand how you feel is just such a nice and comforting experience to go through, and just makes the process so much easier. From the age of 10, I always asked, why is an asbestos banned? It just seemed so simple to me. It just didn't seem like a big deal. I mean, I understand that there's a factor with the businesses and everything, but if people are dying, it just doesn't seem like something that should be legal in America or any other country. So I think, especially from my youth generation and everything, I think we all want a ban on asbestos especially, and just we want Congress and everybody else to just understand that the victims are extremely important in this case, and not just the business side.